Hello YouTube and welcome to another one of my Duel Links videos. So today I have for you a very fun Worm Zero deck. Now Worm Zero, for those of you that are not familiar with it, it's a fusion monster that requires 2 or more reptile worm monsters. And for each fusion material with a different name used for the fusion summon, this card gains 500 attack, and it also gains one of these effects. If you use 2 or more, once per turn you can select one reptile type monster in your graveyard and special summon it in face down defense position. 4 or more, you can remove from play one reptile type monster from your graveyard to send one monster on the field to the graveyard. Now it doesn't destroy, that's very important, it just sends it to the graveyard. However, it does target, so it does not affect Hazy Flame, in case you're wondering. Once per turn, if you use 6 or more, once per turn you can draw 1 card. So this whole deck revolves around the idea of summoning him. You really want to summon in using at least 4 worms with different names so that you can have the graveyard effect. But our deck list is going to be Worm Kartaros. Now he is the one you want to see on the beginning of the duel. That's why we run 3 of them, because he's gonna let you add another one to the hand, and that's kind of the biggest issue this deck has. You know, getting all your monsters together and protecting them in order to summon your Worm Zero. We run 2 Worm Jetalix. I have no idea. When he is destroyed and sent to the graveyard and he started in face down position, he gets special summoned back, so he can eat up 2 attacks from your opponent, which is really good. Now we have Worm Apocalypse. He destroys a spell or trap card on the field. It is mandatory, so if your opponent does not have any, you have to destroy one of your own. We have Worm Tentacles. Just one of them. He is very cool because he can attack twice if you banish a worm monster from your graveyard. So he's gonna enable he's gonna enable you to potentially OTK in some of the duels. If you clear the field with Worm Zero first and then you have 2 attacks with tentacles, that usually wins you the game. We also have one Worm Solid. Basically the rest of them are just one-offs that I added so that they would have different names. But they're not essential to the deck. You can use whichever one you like. This card gains 100 defense for each reptile type worm monster in your graveyard. If your opponent takes battle damage from attacking this card, at the end of the damage step, select one spell or trap card in your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's kind of cool, but it's not super viable. I didn't want to build the deck around him, but he can get pretty beefy as far as defense once your worms start hitting the grave. We also have one Worm Dimicles. I wanted to have something else that had, respectable attack like Worm Tentacles, but I still wanted it to be a different name, so I went with Worm Dimicles. It gains 300 attack and defense if you flip it, but it's still solid at 1700. We also have one Worm Barsus. He, when normal summon, can flip another face down monster into attack position. It can be your opponent's monster or it can be one of your own. And then we have Worm Opera. All face up monster on the field lose 500 attack except reptile worm monsters. So all of your opponent's monsters are going to lose 500 attack. We have nothing but worms, so it doesn't affect us. 3 polymerization because we want to see it as soon as possible. 3 impenetrable attack to protect our monsters and our life points depending on what we need. I'm really liking impenetrable attack the more I use it. And then we also have Curse of Anubis and Windstorm. I'm running balance mainly because I build this on Merrick, and that's the only skill that is useful that I have for Merrick. And we're either going to start with 1 polymerization or one of our defensive trap cards, and the rest is going to be monsters. So I feel good about that. Sometimes we get 1 and 1 and 2 monsters, that's also fine. But let's go ahead and get into these replays. I'm actually recording this right before the Saturday stream. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we had enough entries for the tournament, so I'll have to think about what we're doing. But I wanted to get this out of the way. You won't see it until after the stream, but hopefully you guys made it to the stream and we had a lot of fun. Alright, so we got a Kaiba. They're going first. We see the zombie with the Gosuki. The cool thing about Apocalypse is that his effect resolves at the end of the damage step, so your opponent can chain whatever card is being destroyed. So I go ahead and use my impenetrable attack. It protects my Worm Apocalypse and I still get to destroy the face down, which was an enemy controller. Now I have my Worm Kartaro, so I can search, another monster. And again I use the impenetrable attack so I can keep him on the field. That gives me 4. My Apocalypse is gonna get destroyed, but all I need to do is draw another worm. I get very lucky and I do get my Worm Opera. So now I can fuse with 4 materials with 4 different names. Activate Worm Zero's effect. I hit the Gozuki first so that if he activated his effect, I could hit the Red Eye Zombie. I also bring back my Worm Apocalypse so I can destroy another face down if he sets any. We see that he sets a face down. So I use my Barsis to flip over my Apocalypse. I didn't have to do that. I could have just flipped his, but I wanted to be able to switch this back into defense mode if I needed to. We see the Red Eye Spirit, so he's forced to activate it prematurely. There we see the Bacon Saber, but I'm clearing the field once again with Worm Zero's effect. So he's able to save himself from my Worm Zero with with the Bacon Saber. We see Gozuki for Gozuki, but he doesn't have a zombie in hand, so that's pretty much game. I can use Activate Worm Zero again, get him out of here, and hit him for the rest of the damage. Here we got a Weevil, which is, I believe, just a burn deck. I can't remember, all these duels were last night as I was watching the Rockets game, so I was only half paying attention to what I was doing.
Duel.
See, this is what I'm saying. I got balance, and even though I only have 3 spells, I got a polymerization and an impenetrable attack. That doesn't always happen, but when he does, it's pretty awesome. So I start with the Apocalypse so I can go ahead and take her to the back row. And then I set my Kartaros. He activates Massive Morph on a 300 attack Apocalypse. I did not agree with that at all. And then he puts a Mask of the Accursed. But it is what it is. So I used my Kartaros to search out another Apocalypse. And here I'm not using 3 monsters, I'm only using, I'm not using 4, but I figured he wasn't going to summon any monsters. So all I needed was my my first effect to special summon a monster in face down defense position. That way I can keep using Apocalypse and get rid of his back row. There we see the Windstorm. He goes and Lava Golems my Worm Zero and my Tentacles, which it's just fine. He gave me a 3000 attack monster, and I still have something to take care of his back row. So we see the Mask of the Accursed. That's all he can do, but I have my Apocalypse, so I just flip that over, destroy the Mask of the Accursed, and then hit him with this Lava Golem for game. So this deck, you don't really have a clear strategy. It really comes down to what you're going up against. Obviously, you want to get Worm Zero out, but what you get him out for, it really depends what you're going up against. Like in that duel, I could have fused, with 4 worms, but there was no reason to. He wasn't gonna summon any monsters. Now we have a Bandit Keith.
Duel.
And once again, I open 1 protective card, which is what I want. I start with the Apocalypse so we can get rid of that back row. We see the Mirror Wall, but it doesn't matter, it's still gonna get destroyed. Oh, I remember this duel now. No, wait, it wasn't this one. We see a Sergeant Electro. That's unfortunate. One of our impenetrable attacks is gone. So it's a Psychic deck. But we can protect our other Kartaros. Now I just need the top deck of the Sentry in Polymerization. I get it. So I have my 4 worms, I have my Polymerization. And now we can summon the Worm Zero. We hit the Sergeant Electro first, so that my impenetrable attack is now able to protect my Worm Zero. And then we special summon Apocalypse so that we can get rid of the back row if he chooses to, you know, set any. We see the Windstorm. What Psychic Fighter is going to put Polymerization back on top of my deck, but I have my impenetrable attack. That's why impenetrable attack is so good. Your Worm Zero has no defense, and you know everyone runs Econs, Windstorms, Grievos, so you really need that protection. I go ahead and summon another monster using the first effect, hit him for 2000. We see the enemy controller, and this time I can't protect my Worm Zero, so he's out of here. But that's okay. I can search my Tentacles using Kartaros. So Tentacle is going to be able to attack twice because I banished the worm, and that's plenty of damage to finish the game. Here we go. Even though I didn't win with Worm Zero, he still did his job, and you know, I got the win. Now this Odion was all about knowing what you're going up against. When I saw Odion, I figured it was Burn, you know, Chain Reaction, or Endless Trap Hole, or I mean Endless Trap Hell, or something like that. And I was very curious after I saw the card he played. Let's see, he's going first. So I see the Hazy Flame Cerberus, and immediately I'm thinking, what skill in Odion is he using? Life Cost 0 doesn't help him. You know, I went down the list and then I was like, it has to be Bluff Trap. And if you don't know what Bluff Trap is, it lets you set a card. I can't remember the name of the card. Something statue, but it lets you set a card. And then if that card gets destroyed, you get a token. So that's what he's using as his tribute for the Hazy Flame monsters. So right here, I can attack with my Worm Solid, but the skill gets triggered at 1200 damage. So I didn't want to give him a statue, so I just end my turn. I don't want him destroying my back row, and I don't want him to be able to tribute summon. So he sets a card. I pick up another monster that is exact lethal if he can't stop it. He can't stop it, so I get the exact lethal. And that was probably a storm, so you know he needed the Bluff Trap skill, and that's the only reason I won the game. Knowing what you're going up against, and you know, playing accordingly. Now this last one was very weird. He's using Ra's Disciple with Paradox Brothers, which is it's a nice idea. You get to use Draw Sense Light, so you can, you know, fish out your Ra's Disciple whenever you want to. And you guys will see how I pull this one off. I'm going first. I have my impenetrable attack, and I have Worm Kartaros. I still don't know what I'm going up against, so I just go ahead and summon. Fortunately, I don't have my Polymerization, so I summon Dimicles. Get him for some damage, and then I see the Draw Sense Light, and I was like, okay, it's Ra's Disciple. I still had my impenetrable attack, so I wasn't worried about getting OTK'd. And then we see the Gyoko Fire Formation. We see Horn of the Unicorn and Black Pendant, and I'm like, okay, how am I gonna deal with that? So my immediate goal was to get rid of as many of them as I could. Polymerization didn't help because I only had 3 monsters, so I wasn't going to be able to use Worm Zero's effect. So I still fused because I wanted to summon one of my monsters, this one, in defense mode so that he could go up to 2000 attack and get rid of this Ra's Disciple. For my other strategy was just using Tentacles on the other 2 weak ones because he can attack twice. Unfortunately, we see Tribute to the Doom. That really sucks. And then we see a Black Pendant. But the only upside about this is that he's completely locked down. We know that he only runs Rust Disciple. His field is entirely locked, so all I gotta do is figure out how to take care of one Rust Disciple with 2300 attack. He destroys my Worm 0, I'm down to 600 life points, and then I pulled the clutchest card, but it was all dependent on what he attacked. We know this guy is gonna get 100 defense for every Worm Reptile monster in my grave. Right now there's a Polymerization, and I think that's the only spell or trap that's in there. So we have 4 worms in there, which means this is at 2000. If he decided to attack this, I was done. Luckily for me, he attacked the tentacles. He feels more threatened by the tentacles, and then I pull out a Windstone so I can protect my Worm Solid. And all I needed was a monster that could get over 1300. Unfortunately, there's only 2 in the deck, and I had already used both of them. Once again, he doesn't attack this one. He goes for the new one. There we go. So now we're just getting more worms in the grave. I have impenetrable attack. And this was a key moment. He attacked my Worm Apocalypse. Now, like I said, his effect is mandatory. So I had to destroy one of his cards, but I wanted to keep him locked down. So instead, I destroyed my own impenetrable attack that was locked down by the Yoko. That way he can't activate another Tribute to the Doom, he can't equip anything else, and I used my impenetrable attack because I wasn't sure how many I had at this point. Luckily for me, there was 7 in the grave, so he's right at 2300, which means this Disciple cannot get over it. And as you can see, he has 4 cards, I have 5, which means he's going to deck out before I do. And he realizes that and then just finally scoops. But that was a pretty intense duel. I was very surprised to see the Horn of the Unicorn, and it was great. I'm glad I got to save that replay. But that's it. Here's the deck. Hope you guys liked it. It's definitely very fun. You know, it's not super viable, but it does catch your opponent off guard. So I did get, you know, quite a few wins with it. But thank you so much for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe if you want. Join my Discord if you haven't. The link's going to be down in the description. Also in the description is the link to my PayPal if you guys would support me on that so we can get the new PC soon. I would really appreciate that. And that's it. Till next time.